Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe SI Talk und bei mir ein neues Interview. Encore John Baker, oder Barker, English Great, English Name, ist bei mir. Er ist Vice President Business Development und wieder eine neue Story. Und wir sind jetzt, wie schon im Namen steht, Resource, wieder im Resource-Business gelandet. Extrem spannende Story, weil die Company extrem billig bewertet ist. Wir wissen auch bald, warum. Stellt sich die Frage, wie schaut das aus jetzt in diesem Markt? Kann die Aktie das ganze Potenzial lüften und hat einen super sensationellen Joint Venture Partner. John, thank you for your time. It's really early in your area and early in my area too. But first question is, I saw first on your stock chart and you're going up the last 2 days without any news. Or I don't find the news. So what was the reason why your share price is so exploding?
I think that there's probably a number of reasons. Our story has not been told very much in the last 12 months. It's only in the last 3 months or so that news has started to come out. We had an extensive marketing run, which finished about a month ago, and we raised 5 million Canadian. So in a way, that held back the share price. We for 2 months or so we were raising money, so that held the price at around 50, just over 50 cents, because people could buy in the private placement. Subsequent to the private placement, it seems like there was a seller out there. We believe, I mean, it's very difficult to know if the seller's gone or not, but it would appear in the last couple of days as though that seller is not there, and it's not holding back. And I think also now we have more people, as I mentioned, watching the story and aware that we have rigs, drilling rigs, heading down to what we believe is our really exciting Adumbi project, and hopefully by next week they'll start drilling. So there's a number of events, the amount of people and more ears to listen, and then now actually we're starting to come out with news, which we'd hope to continue to do for the next 12 months. We have, I think, a lot of exciting things to come.
Okay, it's understandable. I have another company, they have also these big sellers in. You never know when it goes, but this looks like that the seller is out of the market. Then 50% up in 2 days, no seller. If you really want to sell some stock, you really sell something into market. So this looks great. But coming to your story, so what is the story in a nutshell?
There's 3 points to our story. We're looking for gold up in the northeast of the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And we have our own resources, quality resources, which I'll touch on in a moment. But in summary, we have over 3 million ounces of resources, mainly inferred category, that we control. So we have substantial resources at an excellent value or grade, as we would say. Close to those resources, we continue to explore, and 8 or 9 kilometers away from our exciting deposits that I mentioned a moment ago, we've got some very interesting early stage exploration. And then beyond that, we have Barrick in a joint venture over a large portion, and Barrick, I'm sure most of your clients are aware of the Barrick name, one of the most prominent gold miners in the world. And they came into a joint venture about 4 years ago with us, and took about 4 years to look around very carefully. And then it was just 2 months ago that they essentially started drilling on what they class as tier 1 targets. And Barrick have a cutoff of around 5 million ounces for deposits that they want to look for, and that they call those tier 1 targets. So they've started drilling. Early stage, but in essence, we have our own resources, exploration, plus a JV with a real quality partner.
Come to this JV. Do you do the work or Barrick do the work?
Yes, the JV is Barrick do the work. They pay for the work. And we're obviously in conversation with them ongoing, and our geologists on the ground keeps an eye on what they're doing. But they do all of the work, and that will carry on until a pre-feasibility is conducted. Once we get to the feasibility stage, which is the final stage, hopefully for raising finance and developing a mine. At that point, Barrick will earn 65% and we will have 35% of the joint venture. And then we will then, at that point, have to start funding our feasibility, etc.
Okay, this 35% what you're coming up. But until this final stage, so up to the feasibility study, you are carried interest.
That's correct, yeah.
Perfect.
And I think another very positive element to this is if at any stage Barrick don't believe that the project is going to get tier 1 potential, if it drops out and then it comes back to us at no cost. And of course, there are a number of companies that are picking up 1 million, 2 million ounce deposits around the world. In fact, we have one as a shareholder, Resolute Gold. They own 26% of us. So anything that comes that doesn't fit their parameters comes back to Loncor for free.
Okay, that's very good. So your biggest shareholder is Resolute Mining from out of Australia.
That's correct, Resolute. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Resolute I know very well. I do an interview with what was the CEO, the huge guy, unbelievable great guy. When he shake his hand, I think he break my head. But come to the only problem what I see so far on your company. This is the DRC. DRC. Everybody goes around DRC when or come to things and say DRC is difficult. So you are long in the DRC. So what is the advantage in the DRC and what is the downside in the DRC?
Yes, look. Firstly, as an overriding comment, our CEO Arnie Conrad, who also owns 26% of the shares, he has operated in the DRC for 30 years and I think four or five governments he's been through. So this is and our team generally has operated in the DRC for 20 years. So that helps. And when I say it helps, it's not just, the president or the president's wife. It's right down to if we're having a problem trying to get stuff through the border, they know the person to contact to find out what the issue is, and things get solved. So that is anyone who's been exposed to operating in countries such as we're operating in, it is essential. So that's the first point. If we didn't have that, it would slow things down, there's no doubt. I think another very key point about this, and it's almost trying to give the investor some comfort in the DRC. This is what we're trying to do. And for us, perhaps the most obvious way to give comfort is that Barrick operate a mine 220 kilometers away from us called Kibali. And arguably, that is the most exciting mine currently in their total portfolio. I think it had the second best margin, operating margin. It used to be around Randgold, and then Randgold merged into Barrick. It's taken 10 years for them to develop it. It all went relatively smoothly, and they did the feasibility, built it, and last year produced over 800,000 ounces at under $700 an ounce cost. So that both of those figures were ahead of expectations. So that's telling you that a world-class operator is operating ahead of expectations, close to where we are in the DRC. Just as an aside, to give some comfort again on our own work that we're doing, on our deposits that I mentioned to start with, our own deposits that we control have a very similar grade to Kibali, or just close to 2.5 grams per ton. Which, if you compare that to, for example, the operations in Ghana or Tanzania, they're operating close to 1.1, 1.2. So our deposits appear to be offering similar grades at an early stage to Kibali. So that's all giving comfort about the DRC. And then if you look at the list of other companies that are operating there, Tesla just linked up with Glencore recently announced. Looking at cobalt. I'm sure a lot of your clients are aware of Ivanhoe, Rob Freeland, a man that I worked with for six months. He's starting really to crank up the news on what they're doing on the copper side there with the Chinese partners. It could be the second largest copper producer. So you'll see in the news that coming through. I think in the last 3 days, there's been 2 separate news releases on that going ahead, probably ahead of expectations on timing. There are numerous examples of companies that are actually making it work there, magnesium companies, etc. So things are happening with multi-billion-dollar companies in the DRC, and they're making money very effectively. So there's the comfort, I think.
Two questions. Is this Kibali mine the old Motor Gold mine? I think Motor Gold find this mine and
yeah, on the Moto, yeah.
Yeah, the Motor was a really the Motor was a great store in Germany. Then this was run by Eckhoff, a German geo guy, and that was a big store in Germany. Second, I think how important is the relationship with the local people there, and what you're doing for these local people, that they see the benefit what you're doing.
Yeah, indeed. Well, again, I said we really didn't have so much money until recently, and it's obviously essential that we keep the locals on side. Historically, we built schools. We've put together health clinics. If you look on our website at the presentation, you'll see some photos of those. And then looking forward, we'll be looking at doing similar things. I know there's issues with getting books and general material to the schools, so we'll be looking at that. There are some wildlife programs in the nearby vicinity we'll be looking carefully at if it's something that we want to do that, but it is essential. If you don't do that effectively from the early stages, you just don't get that community spirit, there's no doubt. So it's an essential part as we move forward. So hopefully in the next few months we'll be announcing more work on that side.
So DRC is on one side a problem for sure, but it's manageable. And on the other side is the positive thing is that you get companies like your company really cheap, then they are undervalued compared to other ones.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, our price has moved, but currently with the resources, the over 3 million ounces of resources, you can purchase our company for around $22 enterprise value per ounce of resource. So that's essentially market cap divided by the resource, which is right down at the low end of the curve. And so for that, you're getting exposure to our deposits, exposure to the joint venture, exposure to the exploration. And we haven't really spoken much about our deposits, but for me, that's really in the next 12 months, that's where the excitement is. The Barrick JV is wonderful. And they're drilling, but it's early stage drilling. They're looking at structures, and they will obviously supply information through to us on that. But it's early stage drilling. Our own resources are looking very exciting. The Adumbi deposit that sits there, and there's 2 satellite deposits. As I mentioned, 2.5 million ounces in total, and we essentially control 2.1 million at the Adumbi area. At that grade of 2.5 grams per ton. So if we can get anywhere near the Barrick JV $1,000 an ounce margin, it's a cheap option. You're buying us for $22 on an option to get up to over $1,000 an ounce margin, and that's what you're looking at. And then at the Adumbi itself, hopefully at the end of next week we'll have drill rigs on site to do some infill drilling at Adumbi, which we hope will add around another 500,000 ounces, and then that'll be 4 holes, followed by another 8 holes deeper, looking at the underground potential. Again, mirroring what's going on at Kibali. They started surface and then looked underground, and all indications are that we also will have the underground potential. So we're looking at the Adumbi and neighboring deposits pushing up, hopefully towards the 4 million ounce figure fairly swiftly, followed by a scoping study, which will really give a clear indication of what we believe is very significant economic value.
2 questions to this Adumbi. Yeah, I have it now on the slide, what you have, the presentation on the website. 2.5 million so far in the resources. You put only, I think, was 45 holes in, and now you plan 12 holes. Is it right? And with 12 holes, you can convert or increase this potential 2.5 million or this 2.5 million resources to 4. It's really quick. Or it's less drill holes you need.
Yeah. Look, if you look at the resource, including Katanga and Manzango, the satellite deposits, which are relatively small but important because of the grade, there's been just over 150 holes put into that area. And if you can, for anyone listening, if you can see a slide there, which is essentially it's like a cross section of Adumbi, and which shows you the location of the holes. There are 4 holes indicated there, which are the infill drilling. Now we know from the drill holes above and below, with quite a great degree of certainty, that deposit is continuing from above to below. But we just didn't have the density in there to come up with a resource, an inferred resource. So those 4 holes will fill in a significant, as we say, around 500,000. And then you'll see the area below, there's another 8 holes which are positioned in such a way to obviously maximize our inferred resource. So yes, we believe that we should be getting close towards the 4 million if the deposit doesn't do anything strange, which we don't know why we're drilling.
Yeah, for sure. That's always. This is Mother Nature. You never know what's happened. But the second question to this project is there is a number 76.29% to Loncor. What are the other 24%?
Okay, that figure has changed. We came out with an announcement last year that we pushed it up to 84.68%.
Okay.
So almost 85%. The 10% goes to the government, and then we have 5% to a number of small local shareholders.
So, okay, this is this one project. 2.5 million ounces so far, and the potential go to up to 4 million in a really short period of time, only with 12 drill holes. So, but this is not the only one project what you run by yourself and outside of the JV with Barrick. So, what are the other ones?
So we have a project which again is in our control. This one is 100% in our control, called Macapella, and this is to the north of our total region is called the Ungayu, the area that JV is in, and the area of Macapella and Adumbi. The total area, which is around 3,500 square kilometers, called Ungayu. But Macapella is to the north of this Ungayu area, we need to do more work in this. The sort of historic holes that have come, there have been some holes, and there is a resource. And the sort of holes that we had coming out of it were the true width, that is essentially the vertical width, things like 4.3 meters at 64 grams a ton, 2.5 meters at 32 grams per ton. And the list goes on. So this is obviously somewhere that we'll be looking to drill probably the early stages of next year. As I say, we've got the drilling at Adumbi, and when that's finished, potentially we could shift over here. And whilst the scoping study is going on at Adumbi, we can look to drill this further. But as it stands, we have over 600,000 ounces here, at a grade of 8.66 in the indicated resource, and then which is a slightly more statistically solid resource, should we say. And then the inferred resource sits at 549,000 ounces at 5.3. Again, fantastic grade. So yeah, it's certainly an area for us to drill further. Similar to Adumbi, we'll be looking to do some infill drilling and some drilling at depth.
One question to this project, Macapella. How deep is the ore? And the grades are unbelievable. Sometimes 64 grams per ton gold. That's unbelievable. But how deep is it?
Yeah, look, the reality with this one is the majority of it will be probably underground, but there will be some that we can access open pit too. So but this will all obviously become clearer with more work as we drill it.
And other question coming to mind, this Macapella, how far it's away from the Adumbi.
Yeah, as in a straight line, you're looking at about 50-60 kilometers, and it's not easy currently. This is not developed ground. It's a stage exploration. That's what it is, and again, anybody who's been into these areas, that's what happens in early stage exploration. It's different.
No, the question.
Kilometers.
the question behind is, can you put maybe one facility and bring the ore from both sides to them, or is it more you look that's big enough and then build a separate plant in Macapella and Adumbi? So
look, the reality is with Macapella that it's the grade will certainly make us think very seriously about perhaps concentrating the ore at Macapella and then trucking it over to Adumbi, if Adumbi carries on the way that we believe it is. I mean, for us, Adumbi and the exploration that we're doing down strike from Adumbi points to a very, very exciting project. But Macapella has the potential to be trucked down with the concentrate. But again, that would all obviously come out with further drilling.
Mm-hmm. I have here the map where you can see the Macapella, the Adumbi, where the joint venture with Barrick is.
Yes, the joint venture with Barrick, they put their first few holes in an area called Anguluku.
Okay, I see it. Here is the Anguluku. Okay.
And then if you were to go approximately 20 kilometers, it's more or less north, so you can see the scale there. So just go north around 20 kilometers, and they're in what's called the Imber Fold. Bakpao is where they're drilling now with their second. As I say, this is very much a structural drilling, so they're putting 2 or 3 holes in to try and work out the structure. Yeah, but they haven't.
Yeah, they're not looking for grade; they're looking for structure. And there's a different drilling idea behind. Then first, the big guys want to always control the structure, and with the structure you find the grade in the end.
Yeah, if we had the balance sheet and the cash flow that Barrick had, we would do things differently too. But the reality is we're an exploration company. We're drilling to find ounces. They're looking at structure and then subsequently defining whether they want to continue with this potential tier 1 target or perhaps bring it to us. Yeah. And in fact, I think in the appendix, later on in the presentation, we probably have a slide you'll see that goes into the Barrick JV and discusses the areas. But I'm not sure. Bakpao is a recent area. It just shows how things are moving in the joint venture. We believe they've now got around 10 targets. Initially it was 6, and I believe it's around 10. And Bakpao wasn't even, this was a January 2020 presentation, wasn't on there. But it's fairly close to Mateta, as I said, the area I said. But it's very much a fluid target for Barrick as they find new areas of excitement.
Mm-hmm. So to summarize a little bit, so you have over 3 million ounces found so far in your different categories in your own project. This is the first thing. Then the second is you have the JV with Barrick. Barrick is starting now looking more for structure, not for grades at the moment, looking for structure. And they're looking for deposit like 5 million plus. And you have carry interest is also important, up to 65% by up to the feasibility study. So the pre-feasibility will include the 65, but not the feasibility. And you have now, through this last private placement, 5 million in the bank, and you can now drill your own project and advance this. And the first goal is to drill in your biggest project where you have 2.5 million ounces underground, 12 new holes to increase the ounces, make some infill drilling, but also expansion drilling, and hopefully you're coming up to 4 million. So for the next 12 months, the news flow is exactly coming out of these 3 areas.
Yeah, indeed. We would expect the real excitement to be Adumbi, as I said, and that's the one we can control. So yes, we'd expect to be seeing good drill intercepts coming out from Adumbi, which will then allow us, hopefully towards the end of the year, beginning of the new year, to come out with a resource, followed by the start of a scoping study looking at metallurgy, cost structures, and all of those important things to come up with an initial economic assessment of the project. Mm-hmm. So that, I think, is going to be the majority of, which is only a short time. It's only 4 or 5 months. So that could be very significant news coming out. And then Barrick will come out with news as they look for what we call Kibali 2 with a joint venture. Then, yeah, they will come out with news. And we've obviously said to them, if you've got significant intercepts, it may well be price sensitive to us, so you have an obligation to give it to us to announce. Mm-hmm. whilst it may not be sensitive to their multi-billion-dollar company, to us it would be. So we would hope that we're coming out with information that we will be putting out into the public domain as well. But that is a little less in our control, but is an exciting additional element.
Mm-hmm. So, and now coming to the share structure. I think you say two words. You have two big shareholders. I saw, or you recommend. One is Resolute Mine, and the management of your company have also 29%. I see it in this presentation.
Yes, Arnie, the CEO, owns just over 26%, and as you say, Resolute are close to 27%, just under 27%. And then we have a residual holding from Newmont. We've had some of the projects for 10 years, and in the early days, Newmont came in, were very beneficial for us in deciding how to focus on certain areas. You can imagine 3,500 kilometers, where do you go as a junior? So they came in with some of their in-house exploration techniques, and in essence that 7% is a residual holding from the work they did 10, 9, 8 years ago.
So that's mean on the other side you're very tightly held. Only three groups own more than 60% of the company.
That's correct, we are tightly held, yeah.
Okay. John, I think that was a great first introduction to your company. Thank you for the introduction. Good luck with the drilling.
Thank you.
Hopefully you're coming up with really great results. And it's unbelievable then with all that what you have so far. It's unbelievable how low is your share price. But in the last 2 days going up 50%, so it's on the good way.
Yeah, as I say, we're still sitting around $22 an ounce, which given the description that you and I have given, we still think there's some upside. We'll tell.
Ja, das war ein erstes Interview mit Loncor Resources und Sie sehen hier die Aktionärstruktur. Allein 60% sind eigentlich bei 3 Parteien drinnen, also das ist schon extrem viel, also sehr gute Aktionärskontrolle, nur 40% sind quasi draußen. Sie haben jetzt 5 Millionen Cash, mit denen sie bohren. Das große Downside, was ich sehe, ist wirklich, dass Sie in der DRC sind. Er hat es dann versucht dementsprechend zu erklären, sie sind schon seit 30 Jahren schon dort, sie haben einen großen Joint Venture Partner, nämlich Barrick. Und sie haben dort schon sehr viel gemacht und sie wissen, wie das Land funktioniert. Und du brauchst genau solche Leute, weil sonst wird dort nicht wirklich was funktionieren. Aber sonst ist es unglaublich, was sie haben. Wenn man sich das einmal so genau anschaut, sie haben hier eine riesen Projektgröße. In einem Projekt haben sie 2,5 Millionen Unzen bereits jetzt schon definiert. Dort sollen jetzt 12 Bohrlöcher gebohrt werden, 4 davon Infill, damit die Ressource auf 4 Millionen hochgebracht wird. Sie haben Macabella, das gehört ja dazu 100%, dort kam es bis jetzt, glaube ich, 1 Million Unzen in verschiedenen Kategorien. Super great, über 8 Gramm pro 8 Gramm, 8,66 Gramm. Das ist irrsinnig hochgradig, dadurch natürlich auch leichter oder interessanter für verschiedene anderen Companies. Und sie haben natürlich das JV mit Barrick, die allerdings mehr für Struktur bohrt. Und für die nächsten 12 Monate kann man einiges erwarten, vor allem diese 12 Bohrlöcher, dann sollte eine Ressourcenschätzung gekommen und dann sollte die erste Wirtschaftlichkeitsstudie gemacht werden. Das sind so die Treiber. Dann sollten nach Macabella gehen werden und dort auch wieder gebohrt werden. Und in der Zwischenzeit kommen hoffentlich noch ein paar Ergebnisse von Barrick. Wobei, das ist immer die Frage, wie weit können Sie da was publizieren? Weil wenn Barrick nicht rausgeht, dann können Sie auch nicht wirklich was machen. Wobei das Barrick Joint Venture extrem interessant ist, denn sie sind Carry Interest bis 65%, bis zur Pre-Feasibility Study, und die Feasibility Study, dort müssen sie dann, ab diesem Zeitpunkt müssen sie dann quasi 35% bezahlen. Was auch noch spannend ist, sollte Barrick sagen, ich gehe raus aus dem Projekt, weil ich keine 5 Millionen Unzenpotenzial sehe, ist es kein Problem, fällt wieder das Projekt zu ihnen zurück, und es gibt genug Company, die halt mit 1 oder 2 Millionen interessiert sind, und da kommen wir wiederum dann zu Resolute Mining, denn die haben 26% stehen dort quasi in der Startposition, dass sie dementsprechend auch irgendwas machen. One last question. Is Resolute Mine, if Barrick says, okay, there's only 2 million ounces there and it's not interesting for us, is Resolute Mine a potential partner for you to bring this into production?
Yes, I mean we haven't had that conversation, but yes, I think obviously that's just the sort of thing that they're looking for.
Okay, John, thank you for your time.
My pleasure, Joe.
Good luck, and yeah, we'll see what the drill results brings. And good luck. And next time, hopefully, we can discuss a little bit more about drill results and the new ways where you're going.
Yes, it's very exciting to be speaking to these new investors around the world, and hopefully we can start to release some of that value. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.